backup recording. Great, let me give permission there. I think yeah, I think you should be able to record. Yeah, here you go, it's recording. Great. Just in case, Mercury, Neptune, the very last square is on its own. I mean, they are on our neck now. Getting exact on the 6th of July, so a couple of days time, and then yeah, it's getting exact, right? So it's gonna be important to have a backup. But it was a productive day. I managed to record 3 videos. I did one on the Venus T-square. I did one on Chiron retrograde. I did one on Mercury entering Cancer. Yeah, so I'm astrologically updated now on my channel. I just need to do the videos, a little bit of an editing, and then I think today we're gonna be, oh, I've done the new moon video in Cancer also. So yeah, so actually I've done 4 videos. I was very productive today. You have so many seminars to watch. I'm behind on your YouTube output. Yes, I know. You know what? I was even telling Sweaty today that I have got so many webinars I kind of bought like 4 or 5 years ago, and I still haven't watched them. So, but I'm taking a week holiday. We're not gonna have a class. I mean, we're gonna have a class actually. So that's gonna be the only day when I work. Yeah, but I have so many webinars to watch. I bought ages ago and then I haven't. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be spending the holiday just a couple of hours each day to listen in some lectures, which yeah, I haven't really done. Yeah, it's always good to update a little bit of a knowledge on certain things, listening to other people's intakes and so forth. Yeah. Okay, so it's 6 o'clock, so we can start. Now, next week, we've got a little bit of a trouble. Either I can do 2 p.m., which might be very early for others. So I kind of recommend doing a poll or like voting over that, if we can do 2 a.m. or we're gonna miss 1 week. Because next week I have basically I take singing lessons, and there is this concert I have to sing, and I'm gonna be singing Everything I Do It For You by Bryan Adams. And I thought the concert was 2 p.m., but no, they told me today it's 6:30 in the evening. So obviously that's clashing with the vocational class. So I can do either 2 p.m. or I can actually do a 6 o'clock in the morning, which is probably a lot more comfortable for plenty of people from America. That might be something like 10 o'clock for others, or I can do 2 p.m. So probably what I'm going to do is at the end of the class, we just do a little bit of a voting on that. And then if 75% of the people agree, then we're going to go with one of those dates. If not, then we might be skipping 1 week, and then you've got a little bit more time to study and go through all the slides and so forth. And this week I'm going to give you a full assignment as well. So yeah, so you're going to have to do some type of research. And actually I want to give you a homework as well for next week. The homework is going to be that I'm gonna have 4, 5 groups of you, and you're gonna be somehow working together on one chart, and then there is gonna be a spokesperson who I would like to present next week on one topic. So a little bit of a group effort. But I'm gonna tell you the groups at the end of the class, who is with who. And yeah, so you guys gonna be working on one chart together. I mean, let's say like 6 of you on one chart, and then probably you might, if you can, you schedule a little bit of a time to meet on Zoom or something to discuss the homework, or you keep in touch in email, or I know you guys have got that Telegram stuff running. Maybe you wanna discuss there how to do it. Yeah, but you guys gonna be looking at an investment chart or an investment or some type of Bitcoin. Anyway, I'm gonna tell you at the end. Okay, so that's gonna be, you're gonna have 2 homeworks for next week, because we come into an end of it. So we were planning 15 lessons. I think we might have got one additional, definitely we're gonna have one additional one, but we will see how we finish with the material. Definitely we're gonna have one bonus class, or maybe we're gonna have 2, but we'll see. So we're gonna see clearer towards the end. Okay, so let me see your, I've got the Ethereum chart information. So that's what we're gonna be working on today. Is there a group for homework? I'm gonna give you the groups at the end of the class. So I'm gonna tell you who is with who. Okay. So I believe that malefics on the angles were deal breakers. That's right. We don't want the malefics to be on angles when you are doing electional charts. We want them to be in Cadon houses where they lose their power. Even if the election is suitable for the planet, is that so? I mean, so I kind of saw that we were struggling with the election. So I saw plenty of dates coming through. I haven't looked at the dates yet. But you do need to remember, you're never gonna be able to erect a perfect chart. So, you know, so don't get hung up. The number 1 indication is that the moon must be very well placed, no matter what. So that's non-negotiable. The rising sign ruler must be in a good position and dignity. So we can't negotiate about that either, right? The next rule is we want the next applying aspect to be good for both moon and the ruler of the rising sign. So if you have done these 3 steps, the rest are just bonus. Okay, so overall, you know, if you end up having a malefic in the first house, for instance, fair enough, just make sure it's before the rising sign then, right? So because the rising sign is going to be progressing and it's going to be hitting at one point the malefic planet as well. So don't get too caught up on, you know, little things. I mean, not little things, but just bear in mind, you're never going to be making a perfect chart. It's impossible, okay? The phase of the moon, we spoke about that. Anna, change it to all panelists and attendees, please. So we've spoken about the phase of the moon. We said for a business chart, we want to be having a growing moon, meaning that between new moon and full moon. But we want to make sure that if possible, that's going to be a sextile or a trine between the sun and the moon. Now, possibly, maybe we can put that as a 4th rule. We want that moon to be growing, right? Because we want the business to be growing as well. But it's for business. For marriage, it's not necessarily true, right? So for marriage, we don't necessarily want a growing moon. We might just want a full moon phase, for instance. So it really depends on the topic. Electional astrology is something completely different. And when it comes to different subjects, there's going to be different rules to consider. even if it is a night chart and it's unaspected Mars in the first, for example, that Mars is still going to be making an aspect at one point, right? So you want to be looking at what's going to be the next aspect Mars make. And of course, you want to make sure that that Mars is not going to be hitting the rising sign ruler, the moon, or whatever you basically erecting for. Or if it's an internet business, you don't want Mars to be squaring, opposing, for instance, Uranus or Mercury, depending on which planet you're working with, right? So those are the 3 planets which you really want to be focusing on. Avoid squares and oppositions to Mars and Saturn. I mean, yes, avoid opposition. Opposition is a lot harder than square. So square is actually just something which is kicking your butt to move forward. But the opposition is that you are actually, the opposition is something where sometimes the opposition is not even aware of the problems, right? We just know that there is something, but we can't just pinpoint what the problem is. So in my opinion, opposition is a lot more dangerous than square. And that kind of makes sense because that's the second most important aspect as well. Conjunction is the first, followed by oppositions. Why is that? Because 360 divided by 1, that's 360. That's the conjunction. So a conjunction is either 0 degree or 360. It depends which one you're going to want to look at, right? 360 divided by 2, that's 180. So that's going to be the opposition. So that's the second most important aspect, right? 360 divided by 3, that's 120. Now here, I wouldn't necessarily say that trine is going to be the third most important aspect. However, that's the most beneficial one, surely, right? And then number 4 is a square, right? Which is 90 degrees. So that's going to be the list of importance. I mean, the order of importance of the negative aspects: conjunction, opposition, followed by squares. Yes, opposition can be sometimes challenging as well. It depends on the participants. And you kind of decide that by the nature of the planet. So if I have got a cold and dry planet, or we have got a cold and wet planet, conjoining a hot and dry planet, that's going to be a tough conjunction, no matter what. Or if the natural enemies are getting in touch with each other, such as Mercury and Jupiter, that's going to be a tough one. Even though it's Jupiter, it's going to be a tough conjunction because those 2 planets just don't get along, right? Or Sun and Saturn, or Mars and Venus, for instance. Mars and Venus conjunction is also a tough one. Okay, so so you're going to have to look at that way. Do I look at the fakeness of the challenging angles the same way in election? Yes, so we can check if it's fake trine, fake opposition, and so forth. Essential dignity is something which modern astrology has forgotten. I mean, it's a very bad thing. I mean, one day I'm going to teach about that surely, but every single column of that essential dignity is very good for timing. So another huge mistake we tend to be doing when we do readings is that, oh yeah, we look at, okay, let's say the 5th house is ruled by Mars, Mars is in Capricorn, ooh, exciting, it's exalted. And then you ask the client, yeah, I've got trouble to get pregnant, for instance. Yeah, but you've got an exalted Mars. What is wrong? Well, look at the essential dignity table, right? So the Saturn is the ruler. How is Saturn doing? Oh, sorry. Yeah, whatever the, doesn't matter. Look at the triplicity ruler. Maybe that's Venus. So how is Venus doing? How is the face ruler doing? How is the term ruler doing? Every single of those element of the essential dignity table is going to speak to you about something, about a certain period of your life. So that's where we can really go wrong. I mean, it's not, I mean, if you really want to be thorough, you know, at the end of the day, that's definitely must be looked at. So, actually, I like that one better. So let's say what I mean here is that first house, right? So, or yeah, we can look at the first house. So that's ruled by Venus, right? So when I look at Venus, certain point of that Venus, Sun will rule it. Certain point is going to be again Sun ruled. At one point it's going to be Mercury. At one point it's going to be Saturn. And sometimes the detrimental or the four planet is going to be playing a role in those readings, right? So I'm going to have to look at all those actually if I want to be fully understanding a house, how it works. Okay, so but anyway, that's not today's lesson, so I'm not going to go into that so much depth, but that's definitely something exciting. Do you think it's worth electing a date and time to place an investment? Electing a date and the time to place an investment? You can do that. I don't see the point, though. I mean, yeah, I don't see the point, so probably I wouldn't do that. It's just, you are better off using Horari for that, which one of the lessons we're going to speak about, just the investment part through Horari, whether I should invest or not. Great. In the solar fire, go on, you bring up the chart, go on pages, go on Horari, and then you can click on number or whichever you want. I prefer number 2, but number 2 doesn't show the L-muteins. So actually I like this one because L-mutein is also shown here, which is also a ruler of the, and this is something which is not used in actually in modern astrology, right? So when it comes to the health department, for instance, right, which is the ascendant. So at one point that would be Venus health situation or health matters, Saturn. So we can see that Saturn is going to be playing a huge role if this person was born at the moment in our health. So Saturn is in Aquarius, maybe the person is going to have some ankle problems, joint problems, whatever it is, right? But at some point in our life, there is going to be some Venusian moments there also. Now, okay, great. So anyway, that wasn't really our topic. Yeah, so any other questions at all? Are we cool? Okay, so no more questions. So let's move on to our 10th class. And then we're gonna dive into a lot more with investment. So you can see actually today we only have got 9 slides. So not so much to cover, but it doesn't mean we're gonna finish within an hour. I kind of can promise that for you. So because what I want to do is we're going to look at a little bit of a Bitcoin cycle a little bit more. And then after I want to look at the Ethereum cycle, but we want to do that together. So I'm going to show you how to work with the charts. We started last week, certain bits and bobs. So how we can dive into how we should do the monthly forecast when it comes to financial matters of certain investments, and then in the end we want to be looking at some of the we're going to look at Ethereum. Okay, and then your homework is going to be other types of investments. So, and of course I would like you to make some predictions for the next 3 months, for instance, together. Of course, because we're going to be around for another 6-7 weeks, so almost we're going to be together for 3 months. So I will ask you to make predictions for the next 3 months, and then at the end of the 3 months we can actually check whether we were right or wrong. So we spoke about last week when it comes to so we started speaking about Bitcoin, and one of the problems we had, what to use, right? So are we going to be using the inception chart, or are we going to use the first trade chart? And we are kind of divided. Whoever is doing financial astrology, we are kind of divided there. But in my opinion, the inception chart is more about the foundation. I would be looking at the first trade chart, because at the end of the day, we invest because we want to make money, right? But another very significant issue is that we don't have enough data. So remember that astrology is all about cycles, right? So cycles in a sense that we know that Saturn-Uranus conjunction happened in 1988. We know that there was a Saturn-Uranus conjunction, God knows when before. So, and we can go back in history and we can look at it a little bit. That's what actually the whole mundane astrology is all about. Going back in history, and of course, we must say that there is no two events alike, because whenever the Saturn-Uranus conjunction happened before 1988, clearly the chart didn't look the same, right? But there is still going to be some themes repeating. But of course, maybe some of the aspects are going to be a lot better or a lot worse, right? So even when I did this COVID research, and doesn't matter whether COVID exists or not, so that we're not going to open a debate about that. But I found that Neptune has played a significant role out of 20 how is it called, 20 pandemics. 18 times Pluto was playing a significant role. Sorry, not Pluto, Neptune was playing a significant role. Either Neptune had a connection to Jupiter or Saturn, one of those two. So this year we were actually blaming, or not this year, almost 2 years ago, we were blaming poor Pluto and Saturn for all these pandemic situation, and probably there was, of course, it influenced it. And actually Neptune played a significant role there too. Anyway, if you are interested in the video, just check it out. So I'm not going to go into that much in details. But with the Bitcoin, it's only 12 years old. So we don't have enough information about it. So we don't know, there's nothing to kind of refer back what is going to be happening when Saturn and Neptune going to have a waning square, for instance, right? Or we're not going to know that Uranus trine Mars, what's going to happen, because we don't have reference data. So that's a little bit of an issue. But of course, it's 12 years old, so it had the first Jupiter return already. So that could be giving us a little bit of a leverage to be able to predict with Bitcoin a little bit better. So firstly, what you want to be doing whenever you are doing your little astrological forecast about any of the Bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, and so forth, you want to bring up a calendar. So you want to bring up an astrological calendar. Let's say I'm going to bring up 2021, and you find it on Google, or if you have got a program, the program gives you a calendar as well. Let's say I'm going to put down July, right? AstroSeek does quite a good ones, actually. Yeah, here you go. So you can see that the sun is going to be entering Leo, sun is squaring Chiron, sun is sextiling Uranus, and all those type of things. Now here I would say that it's worth having a look at the faster moving planets as well. However, they are not going to bring in the long cycles, of course, but they are going to be bringing you those fluctuations. Yeah, so, and then Mercury there, of course, which is very much about business transactions. So Mercury kind of needs to be watched. Venus as in money, we're gonna have to watch that. But of course, we're gonna look at the real stars, starting from Mars, right? That's a slower moving planet. That is bringing in a couple of months type of event. So that could be quite exciting. So for instance, 1st of July, there is a Mars-Saturn opposition. So I'm gonna take a note of that. That's gonna be important for us to look at. So is that transit gonna be affecting the Bitcoin chart in any ways or not? Right? Or then I see there is a Mars and Uranus square. Okay. So Uranus is very much associated with the electronic money. So it can really go to the extremes, right? With Uranus, it can have a skyrocket going on, right? And Mars is pushing something. So it can really push up the prices, but it can really push it down as well. So of course, maybe it depends on the essential dignity of Mars. So Mars is in Leo. According to modern astrology, Mars has got exaltation in Leo, which I don't necessarily agree with. One of the reasons is because, let's be honest, Mars is a speedy planet, and Leo is a content lazier sign. So that's not necessarily gonna kind of work out. But Mars will try anyway. So it's like having a lion and what's the other animal, like that cat type, or the other one, the smaller cat, and the black one. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, we know that the lion is gonna win there, right? So Mars will try, but you know, so let's see. It depends on the essential dignity. Definitely Mars is strong in Leo this time around, so it's gonna have an impact. I don't have any doubt about it. And I can see that Mars is going to be opposing Jupiter. So I'm going to take all these notes, right? And I know Jupiter is going to leave Pisces. So I'm going to take a note of that and so forth. Oh, and the Lilith is going to be changing sign. Okay, I have to make a video about that. Good to see. I forgot about Lilith. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to take all these type of notes. And I'm going to be looking at the Bitcoin chart. How does that affect the Bitcoin chart? How does that affect the Ethereum? How does that affect the Doge, or whatever you are interested in? How does that affect your own business chart, right? So we're gonna have to play all those type of planetary energies. So this year we know that the biggest kick-ass aspects are Uranus in Taurus, Jupiter square Uranus, which obviously started 2021 early year. I mean, the first part of the year, somewhere in February. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was, yeah, very early February. Then we got the Saturn Uranus square, which happens 3 times. So because it happens 3 times, that's going to be a lot more important, right? We know that there is a Pluto return for the US, which is going to be happening. We're going to start feeling that very shortly, but it's going to be happening next year. So we know whatever happens in US, China, those bigger countries, that's going to be affecting the financial world. So we're going to have to look out for Pluto return. And then eventually we're going to have a Jupiter and Neptune conjunction happening next year, and they're going to go retrograde at the same time as well, around the summer solstice. What does the summer solstice mean? That the sun is at its peak when it comes to declination. So that's definitely going to be a very huge cycle for us. So overall, you know, you want to get ready with these mundane aspects, and then you want to be starting to look at those charts. Now, I wrote down the Bitcoin registry. Oh, sorry, I was giving an instruction to my admin to put the chart there, but then eventually I forgot to send the chart. So anyway, so there's the registry of the Bitcoin, and that's definitely worth having a look at what is going on with the Bitcoin's registry chart, because that's going to kind of give you an overall sense of how well Bitcoin will do, what type of challenges it's going to be having, and so forth. So I think I've got it saved here. I'm sure there is a way to kind of search. Oh, okay. Hold on. It might be on my other computer, so I'm just gonna type in, no problem. Bitcoin and 18th of August, 2008, 12, and then well, either we use London or Dublin, doesn't really matter actually. So let's put down London and England. Here you go. Okay, so we've got the Bitcoin registry date. So let me bring up that one too. All signs. Here you go. So we've got the Bitcoin registry date here. I mean, registry chart here. So of course, we can start kind of looking at, okay, what can we see here? You know, what are the good about it? What are the bad? So let's put our heads together. So hands up, and then let's read this chart a little bit. What can we see about it? What's going to be positive? What's going to be negative? Can it sustain? So let's give some ideas here. Johnny, so what would be the first step you would be reading in this chart?
I'd be looking at the moon, and it cannot see the ascendant.
Okay, so let's start. What do we do? What do we do always when we start reading a chart? We start with the rising sign, right? So
Right.
Let's start with the rising sign. What do we know about the rising sign?
Rising sign is Libra, and it's ruled by Venus, which is in the 12th house.
Okay, so Venus in Virgo in the 12th house. So what do we feel about that?
Probably not that strong of a placement for Venus. Virgo, Venus actually is in fall in Virgo, so not a good placement for Venus.
Okay, so let me bring up the essential liquidity table so we can make sure actually that it's in fall. Because Venus does have got sometimes strength in Virgo, so that's kind of important to mention. And can you see that actually it's triplicity?
Yep.
So it has got triplicity now, and then it goes into fall. That's what we call in astrology as mixed dignity. So the mixed dignity is something which starts pretty strong. It starts with a 50% strength, but then eventually it goes into fall, which could show that after a certain amount of time, it's going to start collapsing. Right? Now, what can you see about Venus? Venus is actually the triplicity ruler almost every single planet, meaning that every single planet likes Venus, right? So Moon likes Venus by exaltation and triplicity, Mercury likes Venus by triplicity, Mars likes Venus by triplicity, Jupiter likes Venus by triplicity, Saturn likes triplicity and term as well. And then even you can see part of fortune loves Venus also. So this is where I would ask, is this really a bad Venus?
Not right now, no.
When every single planet adores me, right? So if they adore you, then why would we say that it's such a bad thing, right? Of course, later on, some of the planets are going to start hating us, right? So who is going to hate us? Mercury. Who is Mercury in this chart, Johnny?
Mercury is also in the 12th.
Okay, but you're looking at rulership.
Oh, rulership, it's in its domicile and it's in exaltation.
Okay, so it rules the 12th house and plus rules the
9th house.
So who can hate us? If Mercury starts hating me, the 9th house is going to hate me. What is 9th house?
9th house is travel, wisdom, philosophy.
Try to think about their financial world. Travel. Okay, so travel. So the travel can affect the Bitcoin very significant, right? If people can't travel, maybe they don't spend money.
Yep.
We can
Also,
interpret that. Great. What else?
Foreign affairs, like
Foreign affairs. So as soon as we've got a little bit of a tug of war between two countries, Bitcoin is very much affected, right? So international politics could be very much affecting the Bitcoin, right? For instance, or I can see that Mars is hating Venus. Who is Mars?
Mars is in the 12th in Virgo.
The rulership you want to be looking at. So what house does Mars rule?
Mars rules the 7th house and rules the 2nd house.
Okay, so with the 2nd house, who can hate us? What is the 2nd house?
Oh, 2nd house is money and
Money.
income. Yeah.
That's the regular money, right? So the normal money hates us. So basically we can call it as the banks, right? So the bank's gonna have issues with us, even though the bank is 8th house, but you know, we can correlate that somehow with the 2nd. Or the 7th house, who can hate?
The 7th house would be contracts, relationships.
Contracts and
Partnerships.
relationships, partnership, exactly. Again, some type of debates. Again, it could talk about legal and illegal matters. Again, somehow it could talk about foreign matters because usually that's a war zone, right? So actually the Bitcoin can cause a war zone, right? So from that perspective, of course, that Venus is going to get hated by loads of planets eventually, probably when this thriving period starts, right? Does that make sense, everyone? Johnny?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. Let's take it a notch further. So Monica, so now I'd like to hear about, so this Venus in the 12th house in Virgo.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking that, yeah, so it's quite nice position with if you look at the Ptolemy table, but it's hidden. So I'm thinking 12th house is a hidden house, and it's kind of falling away from power, you know, because it's a 12th house, so it's a bad, okay, a quote unquote dark house, let's say. So I think there's a lot of hidden things going around this with this money. So maybe money in itself, it's got earning potential, got kind of some sort of power with the essential dignities paper table. However, is it always visible and available to customers? It's very difficult to perhaps follow or read, you know.
Absolutely, yeah, we can definitely take that. So because it's in a service sign, right? So does it actually serve properly? 12th house we can easily misunderstand. It can be misleading, and so it can be kind of like uncountable, like, you know, we can't really follow the tracks with it.
It's got like a very, very close to you know, Mercury there. Mercury's got an applying conjunction, so Mercury is known as a trickster, and it's quite strong there. So I think it's almost like kind of that kind of, you know, the magician card in the tarot, that kind of now you see me, now you don't kind of energy to the whole thing here. That's what I'm feeling.
And plus Mercury is the thieves, it's the trickster. So we can see that maybe there is some tricky situation around this Bitcoin surely, right? So there is a danger there and so forth, right? So we can start going forward with that, and we can look at the sun sign. So so who wants to talk to me about that sun? Hands up. Yeah, Sin. So what do we see about that sun sign?
So sun is ruling Leo, is in its home, and is in the 11th house, which is a house of internet, of digital stuff. So it's kind of like it's gonna get some kind of shine, some kind of publicity, some kind of glow in the internet world.
Absolutely. And there is a fixed star around it as well. And what is that?
Oh, where is the stars?
Oh, 29 degree of Leo. What is that? Do we know?
It was Algol?
Regulus.
No, Algol is stars. Yeah.
Regulus. Algol 26,
Taurus.
Taurus.
Yes.
So definitely there is a regal quality to it. And what is the sun in our business chart?
The sun is, I think, is the center, is the identity of the business.
Exactly, the identity of the business, the core statement of the business, right? So clearly this business wants to be shining and it wants to become the best.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, you're going to start reading the aspects as well. Are there any positive, negatives? You're not going to go into this much depth. So I want to be focusing on the forecasting part. Okay, and then of course you can look at the moon, or you can look at whatever you want really. But definitely you want to start with the rising sign, followed by the sun, followed by the moon. Those are going to be the three most important parts of the business. Moon is going to be the customers, the sun is the core of the business, and the rising sign is actually the mission statement, basically with the sun, and the rising sign itself is the business. What type of challenges we are, or the business might be kind of facing, or what are their opportunities? So very important that we're going to be looking at the rising sign degree itself, which I would love if this bloody program wrote that. Hold on. Maybe that one. Maybe that one. That one. Okay, so none of those. Not an issue. We're going to come back and then see the rising sign degree there, which is 29 degrees. So we can see that sun is actually sextiling. So it's going to be very popular. Any planet sextiling from the 11th towards the rising sign is something to do with publicity, right? So that has got a great stuff and so forth. And then we want to look at the midheaven as well, because the midheaven is also somehow representing the business itself. What type of aspects does it have, and are they positive, are they not positive, what are the challenges, and so forth. Great. So this is the foundation of the business, but to read it, how is the market world will change, maybe it's a little bit risky, to be frank, because I think it's not going to tell you how much money we're going to make out of it. So I would be looking at the first trading chart, which is definitely a lot more of a storyteller for us when it comes to how much money we're going to be making, basically, right? Now, bringing that chart up, because that's what we want to be focusing on the most. So the Bitcoin launch actually happened on 3rd of January 2009. What have I done? What is wrong? The format is okay. So maybe that's the problem here. 2009. Here you go. 8:15 and Dublin, Ireland. So what I've done for you is, here you go, here is the chart. What I've done for you, and then of course you can read this chart as well. So where is the sun, where is the ruler of the rising sign, what aspect we've got to the rising sign degree, what challenges we've got, what not challenges, and so forth, just exactly the same way. So, but what I would like to do now, and please grab a pen or use your laptop and take some notes, because I would like you to start spotting some type of patterns. This is what we want to be looking at significantly. So what we see actually here, okay, so sorry, I really want my series back. Because I don't have time to figure out solar fire, how it works properly, to bring up some of the asteroids as well. So Dublin, Ireland. Here you go. And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna put the asteroids on as well. So I need a part of Fortune, I need Ceres, Pallas, Juno, Vesta. Surely. Some financial astrologers actually call Vesta as an investment asteroid, but I'm going to come on to that as well. Okay, so here you go. Here is our chart. So I made a comment on here that, oh, okay, that's the heliocentric chart. So we're going to come on to that in a second. So does anyone know anything about the heliocentric chart whatsoever? Does anyone know anything about hands up, and then tell me what you know about heliocentric? Okay, so Julia.
Is the chart not from the Earth's perspective, but from the sun's perspective?
Exactly. So, and in a business chart, I kind of recommend looking at the heliocentric chart, because at the end of the day, and you know what, even when you read your own chart, it's actually worth having a look at the heliocentric chart as well, right? Yeah, because you're gonna get plenty of information out of that. Julia, do you know how to bring up the heliocentric on here?
Actually, no. I rarely use it, and on Soulfire I never did.
Okay, no worries. I'll do it right now on Sirius. Sorry, I should have bloody wanted to put it on the slide, but I didn't. Sorry about that. Lovely when I'm working from 2 laptops. Great. So there you go. So here is going to be the heliocentric chart. I hope you can see it. Can I zoom on it? No, I can't. So anyway, so I didn't put the asteroids in, but you're going to take my word for it. There was a Jupiter, Ceres, Vesta, and Mars cardinal cross, basically on 19 degrees. So let's just have a look at this a little bit here. So 1 second. That's the wrong one. That's not what I wanted. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry. 18 August 2008. Okay, so let me bring up the heliocentric. Here you go. I don't want that. Brilliant. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, sorry about that. Just 10 seconds, and then we've got the chart right in front of us. I put it on the slide as well, so you've got it. Here you go. So, yeah, so here is the heliocentric chart of the registry. So don't disregard the registry chart whatsoever, because it's going to be important. And what do we see there? Jupiter is on 20 degrees. Mars is on actually 19 degrees. Then you're going to be able to see that we also had Ceres and Vesta there. And Vesta is going to be on 19 degrees, and Ceres is going to be also on 19 degrees. So we've got basically a grand cross going on in cardinal signs. Now, what you want to be doing with this information, you want to be looking at these bad aspects in the heliocentric chart, as well as in the normal geocentric chart as well. And you want to take a note of those degrees. Of course, a T-square and the grand cross is going to be huge, right? So whenever there is a planet going through 19 degrees of cardinal signs, that's going to be a critical degree. We're going to call it as critical degree. Why is that critical for us? First of all, remember we started talking about the the progress declination charts, right? So just as a reminder, let's just bring up that one for a second and say put down 3rd of January 2009. Let's say we're gonna put 45 years, progression, declination, 30, here you go. So we get this lovely chart here, right? So remember that the 0 degree, that's where we've got the spring equinox, right? So which talks about usually 1st and 7th house matters. And then the sun is gonna go nicely growing. It's gonna start increasing light, and then we reach the summer solstice. When we get to 0 degree, then we go down and so forth. So we know that cardinal signs is kind of like a fated angle in the chart. And cardinal means that there is action involved. So whenever, so these this ground cross, in this case, is going to be very, very important for us. So the cardinal axis, which is 0 degree of Aries, 0 degree of Libra, 0 degree of Cancer, and 0 degree of Capricorn, we're gonna call it as a world axis. Meaning any planet hitting that it means that something is happening in the world which is kind of affecting the business chart. So we're talking about the heliocentric approach, right? What we said was that we are drawing the chart there where the positions of the planets are based on the sun being in the center. Because helio actually means that is helios, basically that's the sun itself. So the sun is actually at the center, which is the core of the business. So something happens in the world which is affecting the business. So here, anyway, let's just go back. We've got this cardinal cross or ground cross, how you want to call it, cardinal ground cross or ground cross. We've got that between Jupiter, Ceres, Vesta, Mars, and every single planet is on 19 degree, apart from Jupiter, who is already on 20. So we're gonna call the 19 degree as a critical point in the chart. And whenever there is a transit happening on that 19 degree of cardinal axis, something will happen to the Bitcoin. That's no doubt about it. We're gonna start looking at some examples very shortly. Okay, so in that case, you wanna bring up, you know, your, unfortunately, I don't think you can bring up a heliocentric chart here, but I wouldn't be shocked if you can. So, draconic, there is draconic chart. I don't see heliocentric, but anyway, if you don't know how to bring up a heliocentric, and you've got a serious program, then basically you want to be going onto settings, and you want to go onto coordinate system. And that's where you will be able to change from normal to heliocentric. Okay, if someone, because I know some of you have got Sirius. Unfortunately, on Solar Fire, I haven't figured out, I mean, I haven't checked to be honest, but I'm sure somewhere here, you will be able to check that, okay? And we can find a way online as well how to, I'm sure there is heliocentric options there too. Okay, Sean, go ahead.
You can do it on Astro.com to switch it to heliocentric.
Now, where is that?
So where it says Zodiac under Tropical Sidereal Draconic, where under House System.
Oh yeah, here you go. You are right. So here you go. You've got heliocentric. Good spot. So here you go. We get in that chart here. Is this? Oh, it's a different one, but anyway, you've got heliocentric chart here as well, right? So actually, then we can start using that. Let me just change the dates here, and then you will be able to see that. Astro.com is very good. It does most of the jobs anyway. So, and so lucky that it's free of charge. So, yeah, here you go. So, and then if you want to put the asteroids into the picture, then scroll down, Ceres, Pallas, Juno, Vesta. Here you go. And then you've got the heliocentric chart. It looks to me that it doesn't necessarily put it in. Yeah, it does. So we can see Vesta opposing Mars, Ceres opposing Jupiter. So we've got a beautiful ground cross going on. So what you want to be doing, you want to play around a little bit, and then you want to start looking at, okay, when did we have some type of aspect to that point? So what I did for you was I collected some dates here. What was going on, and then you can do that with the first straight chart. You can do that with the registry chart as well, whichever you probably want to do that both. So for instance, on the 15th of 2015, January 14th, it was record low. So what we want to be doing here, we want to go up and then put a little bit of a transit on it. So, sorry, 14th of January 2015, and then you might want to be bringing up the transit charts. Here you go. Great. So here is the transit chart, right? So hands up, someone, and then let's see if we've got anything going on which is worth mentioning, and we might want to be taking some notes. Okay, so Sean, go ahead.
So as far as asteroids are concerned, it looks like we have Vesta conjunct Jupiter in the 10th.
Vesta, let's see. So Vesta is on 21 degree, Jupiter is on 20 degree. We want to take a note of that. So you might want to bring up Word documents. We want to be spotting patterns. That's what the whole financial astrology talks about. If you are good at that, this is brilliant for Geminis, Virgos. They are very good at spotting patterns, right? So let's write down 2015, Jan. We've got Vesta conjunct Jupiter. Great. Anything else?
I'm not sure where if Uranus is conjunct with that orb. Can we see the
Uranus is on 15 degree.
That's too far.
It's a little bit far, yeah. So maybe I wouldn't necessarily call it that significant.
And then we have Moon and Venus near Ceres. Is that that looks far too?
I wouldn't necessarily use. I mean,
Far.
we're gonna learn about Moon. Start with the big boys.
Okay.
And start with the 19 degrees. So do we have anything around 19 degree?
See on the natal chart, Ceres is there. Transits.
So just the Uranus, right? 19 degree of the cardinal ones. So only Uranus, and we've got Vesta on 21 degree of Capricorn.
We have
right?
Pallas on 20.
Sorry?
Pallas is on the transit. Pallas is on the 20th degree of Scorpio.
Yeah, but that's not in cardinal one. So we're looking at the critical points, right?
Critical.
Which is the 19 degree of the cardinal signs. So Vesta is one of those, which is quite close by. So we wanted to take a note of that because somehow the 19 degree got activated. Okay. We don't see so much of a pattern, but this is the registry chart. I'm not expecting to see so much, to be honest. I don't use the registry chart that much, but for you, I'm going to show you. Okay. Great. So let's just bring up then the Bitcoin launch. And that was 3rd of January 2009, 8:15, and Dublin. Here you go. So at least we've got now, this is saved here. Hold on. Where are you, Dublin? I'm blind or no Dublin? Oh, Jesus, Ireland I'm looking at. Okay, so what about here? What can we see here, Sean?
Here we have Uranus conjunct Mercury, the natal Mercury.
So here you go. So now this time around, we've got Uranus, which is still on 15 degree, but it's kind of, yeah, 3 degree. I take that one. Uranus conjunct Mercury. I'm going to take a note of that. Anything else? Try to focus on the 19 degrees first, because that's a very pivotal degree in the launch charts. So anything on 19 degree at all?
In Cancer, it looks like, let me see, 19, no.
So still we've got Vesta around, and then now we can say Uranus as well, because we can give 3 degree up to Uranus. So it hasn't changed much, but we can see we've got some type of Vesta and Uranian energy, and we've got a little bit of a Mercury involved, right? So critical degree means usually a critical state, right? So there is nothing else to go about it. It's going to be a critical type of energy. Now, you want to do this exactly the same with progressions, for instance. So, or you're going to do that with solar arc. Now, who is aware of solar arc? Who is not? Are we clear on solar arcs? Monica, go ahead.
Yeah, solar arc is basically 1 degree per year movement of the planet. It's not like the progress chart when you take the retrograde periods into consideration. It's just 1 degree per planet moving along the chart.
Exactly. So every single planet with the same rate, which is 1 degree, it's going to be moving forward. So what does that mean for us? So for instance, if I have got Pluto on 0 degree, then 6 years later, it's going to be on 6 degree, right? Or if I have got Jupiter on 2 degrees, 6 years later, it's going to be on 8 degree, right? Or if I have got a Mercury on 18 degree, it's going to be on 24 degree. The moon is going to be on 19 degree. Oh, moon is on 19 degree. Does that ring the bell for anyone? Of course it does, right? Yeah. That's a critical degree. I'm going to write it down. Solar arc, moon on 19 degree cardinal. We know that's a critical point. I urge you to kind of see minimum 3-4 indications to kind of be sure that something is going to happen there. Okay, if you only see one, you know, there is going to be some type of problems, but not, you know, it's not going to be that significant. When you see 3, 4, 5, the more you see, the more problems you're going to see within that chart as well, right? So we can look at, I don't know, we've got Ceres there. Ooh, Ceres, solar arc Ceres is on 19 degree also, right? So again, we've got another activation going on there and so forth.
Would you look at the same, like for example, I know we're looking at cardinal points right now, but would you look at the solar arc planets changing signs?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so the same
We're going to come on to that. We're going to come on to that. Okay, so we just want to focus on that ground cross because that's a huge one. So that's going to be a pivotal point in the chart. So that's the first one you definitely want to be watching out for. Now imagine if it's an out-of-bound planet. That's going to stir the crap out of the Bitcoin, surely, because it's going to take it to the heights or it's going to make it collapse completely. So now looking at this, we see already 4 indications. And lastly, we're going to be looking at maybe progression or whatever timing technique you really use. you know, whichever you feel comfortable with. I recommend these 3 to be looked at. So let me bring up the progressed one right there. So I'm looking at it, and if I see anything on that 19 degree, right? Progressed moon is on 19 degree. Oh, are we on progression? Yeah, we are. Are we on the right dates? We are. So how can it be on 6 degree? Hold on. What is going on here? Transits. Is that? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we've got the progressed moon on 19. Oh, sorry, that's not the sorry. Forget about me. So we've got, yeah, that's the progression. Yeah. We've got the Earth on 19 degree. We've got the moon on 19 degree. Oh, so I have to take a note of that. Moon on, progressed moon on 19 degree. Right, so definitely bring something in for us. Great. Does that make sense, everyone? So I'm looking for questions if we have any. How would the Bitcoin chart change if we put the birthplace in California, which is where some believe Bitcoin was born? It wouldn't change much. The ascendant will change, but the 19 degree is going to be the same, right? So, and the house positions will be changing. House positions not necessarily the most important when it comes to financial astrology. Of course, it is important, but not as important as the sign itself. Okay. So solar arc progressions and transit, I kind of would like you to kind of embrace. If you are unfamiliar with solar arc or transits, you can take my 2 webinars on that for like $10–15. So just email me and then you can get that. Great. But I'm hoping everyone has got a little bit of a knowledge about those, because it's kind of, you know, we are not a beginner class. Okay, brilliant. So we see 5 indications here on that day. And we are still looking at the heliocentric chart. And Monica, change it to all panelists and attendees so people can actually see what you message. Unfortunately, Levki, I can't show on Sirius because I don't have a Sirius at the moment yet. Actually, I can, yeah, I can't. I mean, I can't. I mean, I've got Sirius, I just can't log up with this laptop onto here. But you go on settings, you go on coordinate system, and then you change it to heliocentric there. Okay. And the Grand Cross was in the heliocentric one. The heliocentric in the registry chart. Okay, brilliant. So let's move a step further. So does anyone know, you go to edit chart and go to coordinate system for heliocentric. Okay. Probably, but most of you using Astro.com, so you know it's good for you to practice here. Okay, so the next timing technique, which I would like kind of you to focus on, is the reversed solar arc. Does anyone know what reversed solar arc is? Julia?
It's from the birth time going backwards, like 1 day, for example, before birth and so on. Like solar arc, just going back in time.
And why would that make more sense, going backwards and forwards? What is the explanation for that?
Maybe because the person already existed?
No. Does anyone know the answer for that? Monica?
I'm just thinking along the lines of like the prenatal eclipses, like, you know, like they already in thought process it exists, but haven't actually birthed yet.
No.
No.
Sean?
What about instances where you're looking to see how transits might have affected it if it were to have been born earlier, like say, Saturn, Uranus type transits? Like say Bitcoin, for example, it's only 12 years old. So if you wanted to go back in time and see what might have happened to it.
Yeah, but no. Well, what we're saying is that if let's say the registry was on, or the Bitcoin was on 3rd of January 2009, right? So what we do with solar arc, we move the planets forward 1 degree each year. So when it's 1 year old, Pluto is on 1 degree. When it's 10 years old, it's on 10 degree, and so forth. But instead of that, we're saying that we need to go backwards. So this Pluto, 10 years later, is going to be on 20 degree of Sagittarius. So that's what I want to know why that is. Susan?
I would say because you want to know the environment in which the company or entity was born, number one, and number two, the energies that came together at the birth or before it.
No. Anyone else? No? So I'm going to give it away. So when we are checking astrology, Uranus, let's say, is on 21 degree. Uranus moves forward and it's going to be on 22 degree Pisces, 23, and so forth. But actually, from a real, the reality is not like that. The planets are actually moving that way. So Uranus is not going to be shifting into Aries, actually, that moves backwards. The way how we see it from the Earth is that way, but in reality, that's actually not the way how the planets move. So this is something, I don't know how it's called. What's the name of this, astrologically speaking? I can't remember. Anyway, not important. Let's say if you have got a Sun and a Mars conjunction, that's how we see that from the Earth. But actually, that's a Sun and Mars opposition in real time, or the reality is that it's an opposition. If you've got an opposition, that actually is a conjunction in the sky. Okay, so we just see it from our perspective. Now, when I'm doing a heliocentric chart, which is the sun's perspective, it's not necessarily making so much sense. I mean, it does because it works, don't get me wrong, to move the planets forward, but it's very much worth looking at backwards as well. By the way, when I studied solar arc millions of years ago, my teacher was teaching it backways. And when I studied solar arc with Frank Clifford, he was going back forward, and I was like, what is this guy doing? He's out of his mind. That's not how I studied it. And then it got explained to me why it happens that way. So, and it made complete sense. Okay, so I'd like you to look at the reversed solar arc chart as well. If there was a possibility to looking at reversed transit chart, I would even recommend doing that too. Because sometimes I see people, but I don't comment on Facebook groups anymore that often, because then it just ends up more questions, and then my Neptune my Pisces rising sign doesn't know boundaries that much, and I'm going to keep answering to questions, and I'm going to spend my life on social media. But sometimes what they don't see in real transit, that's because it comes up with the reverse transits. And so forth. But anyway, from a solar arc perspective, because that's easy to spot. So if I look at the 2015, it's worth having a look at these planets. Did anything hit, for instance, 19 degree? Well, look at Juno. Juno hit 19 degree there. So I'm going to write that down. Juno. Now you might be wondering, Juno is an marriage asteroid. What the heck are we doing with I'm going to call it a solar arc reversed, Juno, 19 degree. What the heck are we doing with Juno? Well, remember, Juno can indicate some type of merges, right? In business astrology as well. Or it could talk about, because it's the marriage. So maybe two companies are marrying, two parties are marrying, and all those type of things. It could be actually a political election, right, in the sign of Capricorn, or some type of campaign, and people are joining forces. So you can use Juno as well, but in a very limited meaning. Okay, so I'm seeing 6 indications here, which cause a little bit of a problem. So definitely that could cause some type of crash. Great. Can you repeat how to do reverse solar arc? You just put an earlier date. Well, you can, no, I mean, you can put an earlier date as well. So instead of 2015, you put exactly 6 years before, so you put 2003. That's possible, or you mathematically calculate it. We're looking at the age of 6, so I'm going to go back 6. Every single planet is going to go back 6. Yeah, so you can do that. You go on 2003 instead. That's when it's 6 years old, right? So all of a sudden, I see that Pluto is going to be there somewhere on 17 degree, right? Or I'm going to see that Jupiter is somewhere again, and so forth. Oh, there's the transit. Oh, no, that's the solar arc one, sorry. Yeah, okay. So, oh, it doesn't do it, actually. It doesn't, oh, that's progression. I'm on progression. Okay, that's why it's not doing it. Hold on. So we're gonna go on to solar arc. There you go. Now it's gonna show. So here you go. Pluto is on 24 degree now, right? And I see Juno is there somewhere around 19 degree. Juno, it's on exactly 20. And so forth. So you play around with all of that. Probably look at, I mean, Vesta is on 18 degree, but not in cardinal, so that might not matter for us. Moon would be on 7 degree, Ceres would be on 17 degree, Saturn would be on 10 degree, and all of that energy. Okay. Does that make sense, everyone? No? I mean, yes? No question? Hands up, any question? Because I want you to understand this. So free timing technique you want to be looking at, solar arc, transits, and progression. If you have got any bonus timing techniques, feel free to use. I kind of recommend the reversed chart as well, because it could be very nice. Now, next date we want to be looking at. So we finished with 2015. Let's move on to 2016, mid-December, when there was a breakout. So, and of course, you want to play this not just with the heliocentric one, sorry, but you want to do that with the tropical one as well. And how can I switch that? I don't want now heliocentric. How do I do that? Probably I go back. Oh yeah, sorry, I need to click on geocentric. Okay, here you go. So, and then you want to do exactly the same with the geocentric chart as well. Okay, so let's start with solar arc. Here you go. So we want to be looking at, do we have anything? We're looking at the 19 degree at the moment. So I'm looking 19 degree of cardinal signs. Looking. Okay, we've got Juno on 16 Capricorn. So interestingly enough, Juno is again there. So I'm going to write down solar arc, Juno, 16 degree. It's a little bit far though, actually. With a solar arc, we only give 1 degree off. So maybe I'm going to take that out. That definitely doesn't bring anything. Okay, so maximum 1 degree off. Okay, and then you go through every single of this. We can go on to progression. So we're going to be looking at progressions and transits. So let's see, do we have anything exciting here? So what I'm going to see here, oh, moon, progress moon, 21 Capricorn. I'm definitely going to take a note of that, right? Rest is not necessarily that important. So progressed moon, 21 degree, cardinal. I'm seeing 7 indications which actually could bring a significant drop. We're gonna do exactly the same with the next date. Let's say 2017 December, okay? So 2017 December. In the meantime, hands up, please. And let's explore these degrees again. Who would like to have a look at someone new, please? We've got 24 people online. Don't be shy. I don't want to speak to the same people all the time. Or I'm just going to start calling up names. Brilliant. Mahera. So let's see, do we have anything which might be interesting for us by progression on 29 degree?
Progression on 29 degrees.
Not 29, sorry, 19.
19 degrees. So there's nothing active there.
Nothing on progression, good. Anything on transit?
On transit, we have Pluto
Here
and a cardinal degree.
So exactly. So I'm gonna 2017 December
Cardinal
17. Transit Pluto on 19 degree, almost to the minute actually.
Very
So
nice.
that's within orb already. So we definitely take that. Okay. Anything else which might be important for us?
I'm not seeing anything that stands out from these.
Yeah, nothing by progression, nothing by transit. So we're gonna go on to solar arc. Yeah, so Mahera, anything here?
Let me see.
Here you
That
go.
Sirius was near there. I don't see any 19 degrees popping up. Oh,
So
for the node, but that's in
that's
Aquarius.
not the cardinal point. We're just looking at the moment. Cardinal one. Okay, nothing going on. Great. We looked at everything, so we're gonna go on to the heliocentric one now. Do we have anything on the heliocentric?
Let's see. Not by progression. I mean, not by the solar arc.
Not by solar arc. So we don't necessarily see anything. That was 3 years ago, but we kind of looked at that already.
Right.
Nothing. Okay, unfortunately, the reversed one is not going to show up. So we're going to have to do that in our head. But this is when kind of almost 10 years old, right? So imagine that Pluto, I mean, logically, we'll need to look at the high degree planets, right? Because they are the ones which can go backwards. So maybe Ceres, which is going to be somewhere on 14 degree. It's a little bit too far.
Right.
Or Vesta, that's going to be on 14. Nothing is on a very high degree, actually, which kind of could indicate anything for us. So that's not working. Okay.
But we do know that in 6 years, the moon's going to progress to that 19 degree point.
Yeah, but that was the 2015.
Yeah.
Which we looked at already.
Right.
Okay, so here so far, we pretty much only see one thing, which is a Plutonian energy, nothing else. Of course, I'm going to go back onto the other Bitcoin registry chart, and we're going to do the same. So, Mahera, keep going. Do we have anything here?
Venus just passed that point, the 19 degrees, it's a 21.
Too far.
And Pallas is,
What
yeah,
are we on
not in the
solar
right
arc? Too far.
right.
1 degree of maximum. Very maximum.
Okay. I have a question actually. So we're looking at the Pallas that we know is going to come to that degree in a little bit further time.
But it's in Taurus.
In Taurus. So it's my question is, it's making an aspect to that. Are we looking at the aspects that'll be made?
That's our next step.
Yeah,
Start
so we'll be
looking
making
at
an
the
aspect. So
Ptolemaic
that's the most
aspects.
interesting part I see.
So we can say that we've got solar arc plus. What type of aspect does it play?
Let's see, it's going to be Taurus to Taurus.
Let's say to Ceres.
Yeah, okay, so that's going to be a sextile.
Exactly. So the other one is going to be a trine, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to take a note, sextile to Jupiter. Sorry, trine to Jupiter, doesn't matter. Jupiter and trine to whatever, Ceres, right?
Yes.
So of course, this is a good aspect. So we are kind of happy about that. Great. So we were on solar arc and we're going to go back onto the progress chart as well and the transits. So do we have anything exciting here?
Let's see. Yep, we got Pluto.
Yeah, there's going to be the transit one. We already took a note of that.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Progression.
Progression. Just the series.
Ceres and Vesta.
Yes, Ceres and Vesta.
Now, with the progression, it depends how quickly they progress. So with the progression, I would give approximately about max 2 degree orb.
Yeah.
But maybe we can take a note of that. Progressed Ceres and Vesta cardinal axis. Okay, great. So, but overall, I think it's a little bit far. So I'm just going to put that into bracket because
just make a note of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because those are actually slow. So they spend about 3.5-4 months in one sign, so they are slower
right.
than any of the other planets. So they don't really count, to be frank. So transit Pluto, and we've got a sextile and the trine. Do you think it's going to be more positive or more negative?
I think it's going to be more positive.
It's going to be more positive. Absolutely. We've got good aspects. We don't need to be scared with Pluto. Pluto can bring plenty of power.
Yeah, Pluto's awesome.
Exactly. And
I've got a Scorpio stellium, so I love Pluto.
Oh, okay. So, and as a last step, you want to be looking at sign changes, both by solar arc, progression, and transit as well.
Right, and so that Pluto's extra powerful right now because it just changed signs.
Well, it is whether it's strong or not, but it's definitely, I mean, strong because it's changed sign, yes. So
or influential.
It's very influential, but that's in the natal chart.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Great. But the good part here is that Pluto is conjunct in Jupiter. That's a wealth combo.
Mm.
So, you know, we must take a note of that. Jupiter, and that's a wealth combo. Now we just see positives. 2017, as you can see, it was record high. A record so high, never has been that high before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, any questions? I think, Anna, you can raise your, or just unmute yourself if you've got anything to say, and then you can chip in. Okay. Now, I don't want to go through all the dates. Believe me, there was always something going on there. So there was always either the cardinal points or something is happening. Instead of that, I want to just look at the 14th of April, 2021. Okay. Bearing in mind that 2021. So then, Anna, you can do that now. So please unmute yourself, and we want to go on to the launch chart. Actually, I prefer the launch chart anyway. Okay, so let's just have a look at what happened in April 2021, April 14th. Anna, you here?
Yes. Yeah, I'm here.
So let's see. Do we have anything significant popping out? Or let me scroll down to the degrees and then easier to see.
At transit, you have Neptune at 20 degrees.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily cardinal.
Ah, okay. So, and then nothing else via progressions, not anything close to the 19 degrees.
Nothing. Okay, so that's not helpful for us. Okay, no problem. We go on to transits, just transits, because obviously there are the fast-moving planets as well. Do we have anything there? I mean, we hear the fast-moving planets are not coming up by when I do the combined one.
You have Ceres at 19 degrees of Aries.
Okay, so we want to take a note of that. Now, remember that Ceres is something to do with agriculture, right? So it's worth having a look at what was going on in the agricultural world, because that might be affecting somehow the Bitcoin market as well. Okay, so that's our transits. And then let's move on to solar arc. And here you go. Oh yeah, sorry, you need the degrees.
Yeah. So no, nothing.
Nothing. Did I change the date? Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, I did. Okay, so nothing. Great. Okay, backwards solar arc. So this time around, we are 12 years old. So do we have anything which might be important to mention?
The Jupiter return.
Jupiter return. I'm going to take a note of that. Surely. Jupiter return. Now, that's always a good news, especially, I mean, it's always a good news. Jupiter is good. Russ, okay, anything else? Okay, so let me just actually easier if I go back 12 years and then I put down 1997 for you, and then we can see the degrees. Do we have anything exciting here?
Are we looking at the 19 degrees? We have Pluto at 19.
Or sign changes as well. That could be also exciting.
Mars at 18 degrees and Jupiter at 20 degrees in Capricorn.
Okay, Mars is not necessarily that important, but Jupiter is definitely important.
In Capricorn, yeah.
Yes, because it went back to the cardinal points, right? So Jupiter on 20. That's definitely important. So we've got 2 Jupiter activation going on so far, and we've got Ceres. Both of them are all about growth anyway. Ceres and Jupiter also growth, right? Anything else which might be important?
Well, Ceres is squaring Jupiter then, because Ceres is in Aries and Jupiter's in Capricorn.
Yes, so yeah, absolutely. Great. So, and then of course we can start looking at different type of aspects. So the 5 Ptolemy aspect needs to be looked at. Oh, someone is in the background. So we can look at the 5 Ptolemy aspects. So maybe you want to be, by the way, it's not always a full degree. So we went backwards 12 years, but it's not always a full degree. It depends on the sun speed. So sometimes it's a little bit less than 1 degree a year. Sometimes it's a little bit more than 1 degree a year, because in summertime the sun is slower. It only moves about 0.58, 0.59 degree a day. And in winter, it actually moves a little bit faster, and it can go up to 101, yeah, a little bit faster than 101. So that 12 year is not exactly 12 years I should have gone back. But anyway, in that case, you might want to take a note of moon. And what happened there, Anna, with that moon?
No, moon is in Cancer, so it changed signs from.
It's changed sign recently.
Yeah,
Right. And what's the dignity of moon?
I'm sorry?
What's the dignity of the moon?
Yeah, Cancer.
So it's rulership.
It's rulership, I'm sorry, yes.
Who is in the background? Someone I need to mute here, I think. Oh yeah, here you go. So, so overall, is it going to be a good period for us or a bad period?
Yeah, it's a good period.
It's a good one. Jupiter return, Jupiter activation again, moon rulership, series, not necessarily a bad thing though, but that's a little bit of a challenge though. But anyway, so this was a period of time when we had a very significant breakout, and Bitcoin almost reached 65,000.
Could it have been because Aries, because of the change in Aries, right? Because Aries is a mover and shaker, right? All of that energy.
Exactly. And at that time, Mars was also out of bound as well. So we had four out of bound planets. However, when they left, when they went back into bound, unfortunately, there were some type of issues there. So it was just a periodic type of growth. So don't forget to look at the out of bound planets by declination as well as by transits. Okay, that's important. So even though we haven't looked at it, but it's worth having a look at. Do we have any planet out of bound? Okay, so why I hate this bottom here, but we can see that the moon is going out of bound at one point, but that's just going to be 2024, 2025, 2025. Yeah, so that's further down. The rest of the planets are not out of bound by progress declination, so that's not necessarily important. But if what was the date 2021, maybe we can come here and then see, do we have anything happening here? We've got Venus activation happening. Oh, that's further up though, sorry. We've got Uranus activation happening around that time, right? So the progress declination is progressed moon declination Uranus line, right? So we know that Uranus is going to take it to heights, but it also destroys it. Great. So we want to be doing all these type of things when you are doing your little forecasts. I know it might sound, I mean, it looks like it's very difficult and it's time consuming, and it is time consuming, but yeah, that's life, right? Great. Any questions so far? Do we look at the Ptolemaic table with the heliocentric model too? Yeah, you can. Great. Okay. Yes, you're gonna get a very good feel for cycles doing this work. So definitely, absolutely, you're gonna get that. We went back 14 years, not 12. No, I went back 12 years. Yes, I went back 12 years, not 14. 2009 minus 12 is 97. Okay, so I went back 12 years. Okay, so if you want to play around with this, go through all the dates, you're going to see these exact activations. So what you are watching out for, so going back, that was what is going on this year, of course. Those are the mundane aspects. So you want to be focusing on that. First of all, you want to be looking at, okay, Uranus is in Taurus, right? So how does that affect my chart? And of course, don't forget that we need to look at the registry chart as well with that 2021. And you want to go in back to the geocentric energy as well. And you want to also look at that too, right? So we shouldn't be forgetting those. So all of a sudden you see that Mercury is triggering that cardinal axis again. I'm going to take a note of that. Can you see that Jupiter is triggering that very close by? So I'm going to take a note of that. And Vesta. So we've got so much going on, which is triggering. Okay, great. And so you want to be looking at that pivotal point. You want to be looking at time sign changes. You want to be looking at the Ptolemy aspects. So for instance, maybe I'm picking Jupiter, right? That's on 18 degree of Capricorn. So I'm looking at 18 degree of Capricorn, Jupiter. Does that make any aspect? It sextiles Uranus. So I must take a note of that. It's important, right? It's going to be trining Saturn, but it's going to be just a couple of years after. So maybe not that important, but we're going to take that. I mean, we're not going to take that into account. We're just going to be working actually with that Uranus. Okay, so that's somehow important for us to mention. Okay, now I'd like you to also see, I don't know why we didn't spot that. Oh yeah, because we haven't looked at it. But let's just go a second onto the solar arc. Can you see, oh, hold on. We need to go back in time to 2021. Here you go. So can you see that Pluto, solar arc Pluto, 1352. So it's bang on the sun, right? Very important. So we should take a note of that. Can you see if I reverse the sun, that's going to be on the Pluto, 12 years before, right? That's on the Pluto. So the solar arc Pluto is on the sun, and the reversed solar arc sun is on Pluto. How big is that? I must take a note of that, right? Solar arc Pluto conjunct sun, reversed solar arc sun conjunct Pluto. It's kind of like a mutual reception, really. So that's definitely very important. And then, of course, we can look at other stuff as well. Maybe we can look at the moon, right? So I'm looking at moon is on 17 Aries. Does that do anything for us? Well, moon is 17 degree of Aries. It's a sextile in Chiron. Now, I would like you to remember that Chiron in financial astrology is the correction planet. So it corrects previous mistakes. With a sextile, it's going to be a positive correction. With a square, it would be a negative correction, or with an opposition. Okay, that's what we kind of want to be remembering there. Okay, so there is some type of correction happening to the markets. Or I can look at, let's say, Venus. Does Venus do anything for us? It's on 12 degree at the moment. Where are you? Venus in Pisces. Okay, so, oh, it's sextiling the sun. Oh, it's going to start sextiling the part of fortune very shortly. So I must take a note of those. Okay. And of course, that Venus is in dignity. It's exaltation. It can kick things very far. Great. Okay. Moon is going to conjunct midheaven. No, Moon is on, why is it not moving now? Yeah. Moon is on 17 degree, so it's not conjunct in the midheaven. The midheaven is on 11 degree. That was 6 years before, which was 2015. Definitely, that was very pivotal with that 2015 as well. So we could have taken a note of that. The moon is very burnt. Maybe the people are burnt. There was a pandemic going on in 2015 anyway. So also you want to be looking at these world events, as I said, these big countries. Okay, so I made a little bit of a conclusion for you. We're not gonna go through all those because it would take ages. But this is more like a transit kind of conclusion. When Sun is in fire sign or water sign, it tends to be a major reversal or breakout. So basically, how this conclusion is coming up, we're looking at the 12-year cycle. We're looking at the data of how the Bitcoin was going, right? And then if you have got a research program, you can feed in all the data, and then it's going to give you a kind of like a breakdown. Now, there is astrological software for it as well. Unfortunately, well, I think Sirius is able to do that. I haven't played around with it. SolarFire, I'm not too sure, but there is an astrological software typically for these type of investments. I think Alfie is actually selling it. No need to buy it, by the way, but it could be very helpful, especially for the investors. If you're not an investor, don't use it. If you want to be doing financial astrology, maybe at one point, you know, save up for it. I think it's about $400. I'm not too sure. But anyway, there is a program for it. So you would see that the Sun in fire signs and water signs, there was a major reversal or breakout. Moon in water signs usually brings low energies to Bitcoin. Moon in fire signs brings high prices. Mercury in masculine signs for most reversals. So basically when it drops. Now, Mercury was so precise that I think 8 out of 10 occasions, sorry, 9 out of 10 occasions, Mercury was in masculine signs when the Bitcoin had an extreme low or it reversed. Mercury in feminine signs, 7 out of 10 times, actually it brought increase. Mercury is important because at the end of the day, it's about business transaction. Mars was in masculine signs, typically in breakouts, 8 out of 10 times. And Mars was in feminine signs when there was a reversal, 9 out of 10 times. Okay? According to the Sun sign, the Sun in Taurus, Gemini, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Bitcoin tends to be doing a little bit better. Sun in Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and Libra, Bitcoin tends to do very weak. The weakest, actually, out of all those 4 signs, guess what? Type it into your chat box. And after, I am going to be explaining that to you as well, why. So 2 of you are guessing for Libra. Secret, no. Cancer is the second lowest one, actually. Virgo is the lowest one. That usually brings a record low. Now, hands up if you have got any idea why. Oh, yeah, we've got 2 hands up. Okay, someone new as well. Marie-Pierre.
Yes, good day. Well, Virgo is more careful. It's not a sign that will go ahead like a fire sign. It will analyze everything and may miss opportunities. don't know if that makes sense.
It does, but that's not the answer.
Okay.
That's all right, Monica.
Perhaps it's the series Saturn in Virgo. Italy.
No.
Okay.
Johnny?
Because it's an earth sign and it's stable, so it doesn't change or fluctuate, go up or down.
But Earth sign is stable, but Sun in Virgo is the record lowest. Anyone else? Okay, Mary Pierre again. No? Julia?
I'm not sure, but maybe Virgo is a pretty conservative sign, and Mercury is not really about growth, because Mercury is kind of opposite of Jupiter, the growth, and probably it's thinking small.
No. Okay, what's the next sign from Virgo? Let's call up someone new. Caramel. Sorry, my doggy is impatient. Geraldine, what's the next sign from after Virgo?
Libra.
What happens in Sun in Libra? What do we know about Sun in Libra?
It's interested in partnerships and mergers with other businesses and cooperations.
Okay, okay. Dignity-wise, what happens to Libra? What is Libra, first of all? That's the world axis, right? That's the 0 axis. So what happens in Libra with the sun?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you guys hear me? A quick yes? Type it yes. So Geraldine.
Oh, you've just come back in, sorry.
Okay. So what is the 0 degree by declination? How do we call that?
Solstice.
The equinox, the solstice points.
Yeah.
That's the world axis, right? So what happens to the sun after it goes into Libra?
It well, it's the sun is less and less.
Sun is less and less, right? So it's gonna start losing its light. So when does the summer finish?
Well, that's when the summer finishes, isn't it?
Yeah, so it starts finishing in Virgo, right? So, and then when it reaches, it's constantly losing the light faster and faster, right? So by the time we get to this third decan of Virgo, that's a very risky Bitcoin point for us, because the sun is very much losing its light. And Virgo, what season is that, Geraldine? So sorry, with the last 10, I mean, the last decan, what type of season do we have coming?
Harvest and
the season.
Autumn.
What's the season? Autumn, right? So it's fall. And what happens to the sun in Libra? What's the dignity of it?
Poor.
It's poor. It's fall.
Yeah.
So can we guys see how clever the Asian people work? They called the fall, the autumn, as fall, because this sun actually literally falls down, right? So it kind of leaves this line and it's going to kind of decline, right? Because the days are going to start shortening. So that's why Virgo is very risky, as well as Libra, the sign before Libra. Okay, I think that's the explanation, or that's how I explain it. Okay, but no, because Monica says that's why I thought Libra, and that's a smart idea actually. But you know, before there is a storm, I mean, before something happens, there is a storm as well. So the storm happens already in Virgo, right?
I think if you had the harvest analogy, like in the Virgo season, in agriculture, that's the end. That's as good as it gets. This is what you've made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we started harvesting somewhere the beginning of the Virgo season, right? And by the last 10 degree, the third decan, we finished, right? So there is nowhere to improve. So the Virgo season, I think 11 out of 12 times, the Bitcoin wasn't doing too well. Remember, financial astrology is all about spotting patterns. Okay, great. So you've got now some patterns. It just needs to be built in the next 12 years. I'm sure you're going to start seeing other patterns as well, but kind of you're going to have to see these patterns with other stuff as well. So what you want to do is you want to find an official site. Let's say when you are analyzing Ethereum, for instance, right? And then you want to be looking at their cycles. And if it was born in 2012, for instance, I want to see what was going on in the last 9 years. And you want to make kind of a template about it. Okay. So exactly, we're going to see what happens in Virgo this time around, because 10 out of 11 times, or 9 out of, it was 10 out of 11 times. Actually, Bitcoin didn't do well during the last 10 degree of Virgo, especially. Okay, great. So we only got to the third slide, and we've been chatting for 2 hours. Brilliant. So weak means lower price, opportunity to buy, does well, price raises. Absolutely. So when the price is low, that's when we should be buying it. Okay. Now we want to be going forward because I know it might be very overloaded information. So I appreciate that it's overloaded, but I wanted to go through at least one chart. I wanted to go through all those 7 dates, but hey, that's okay. I think you are getting what we are doing here, right? So it shouldn't be a little bit of an issue anymore. Great. So moving forward. So I just put there the solar arc Pluto conjunct the sun. The solar arc sun will change sign in 2026. Now, remember, I speak about this 2026 a lot, right? We are having so much planetary alignments going on there. Neptune changing sign. We've got Neptune, Saturn conjunction. Neptune is the money. So we're going to speak about money today. Neptune is especially the currency, inflation, deflation. We're going to start touching base a little bit or recapping on Neptune before we're going to start speaking about currencies. We've got a hand raised. Lefki, go ahead.
Sorry, it was from before.
Oh, okay, no worries. And also, when you look at this chart, the transit Pluto, which is currently on 25 degree, is on the solar arc sun as well. Can you see that? I forgot to mention that with the April forecast, right? Pluto was on 25 degree conjuncting the ruler of the rising sign, as well as the core of the business. Very important. So we can see that this Pluto sun definitely can bring us some type of energy. Of course, before the sun will change sign, it's going to be conjuncting Jupiter. But when the sun changes sign in 2025-26, and the sun is going to go into detriment, well, I think plenty of people are going to be struggling there. But, you know, we're going to have to look at what is going on at that time. Remember, there is going to be a Saturn and the Neptune conjunction happening on Moon, and look at that beautiful Uranus being around too. So 2026 is going to be huge for Bitcoin. And I'm not too sure if it's a positive huge. Okay. Plus, currently, you can see that the Saturn, Jupiter went through all these planets here, and Saturn is actually dancing around the North Node. So the future of Bitcoin is kind of really depends on what is going on at the moment, right? And also, I'd like you to see that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction happened on very close by to Mercury as well, which is very important because that's something to do with the gains, the 11th house, right? So anyway, so I spoke about the 2026 a lot. I'm hoping that I'm just a black crow and nothing gonna be happening, okay? Great. Yes, I think it's gonna be a big crash, Otmar. I think it's gonna be a very big crash. Does this method work for stocks as well? Of course. This is how you're going to be looking at the stocks. I think I've got the coffee bean chart. The coffee is a good market, actually. WD was huge on the coffee charts. Now, to be frank, I don't think I'm going to be teaching WD methods. But by the way, I already mentioned he was working with some of the seasons. He was a very famous astrologer in the 1920s, and he was predicting crazy well how the stock market will play out. He's got a book, but it's very hard to read because there is plenty of references to the Bible. He was a very religious person, and it's very hard to kind of understand because at that time astrology was regarded as a witchcraft. So he actually called himself as a numerologist and namologist and stuff like mathematician and so forth. So he was kind of advertising that he was looking at numbers and stuff like that, which he was, but he was using also astrology quite a lot as well. Anyway, great. So a little bit of a summary on that. So what you want to be looking at, do any of the planets turn retrograde or direct by progression? And that's going to be very important for us. Mercury, when it was a crash, actually turned retrograde in 2015. So that's very important. Do we have any planet on the world axis? Saturn was on 0 degree of Libra in 2017. Converse Sun is on the direct Pluto 2021. The converse directed Sun will move on the world axis 2022. So I do believe that the Bitcoin will do extremely well in 2022 with that converse directed Sun on Libra. But and the reason why I believe that, because Jupiter is going to be in Pisces as well. But of course, don't forget that the Sun is in fall in the sign of Libra. So, you know, anyway, we're going to have to look at other considerations as well. And then the solar arc Sun is going to be conjunct in Jupiter 2025, and then 2026, it's going to move into detriment. Okay. So in 2021, what we can see in the Bitcoin chart, Saturn-Uranus square, we know about that. So you want to be looking at, first of all, does the Saturn-Uranus square impact the Bitcoin whatsoever, right? Of course it will. Why? Because it happens around 13 degrees. It happens on the North Node, right? And so Uranus is squaring the North Node, Saturn is conjuncting the North Node. So that's something we must be aware of, right? Then Jupiter moves through Aquarius. So Jupiter moves through all the planets here. And of course, eventually gonna come back, and it's gonna come back to 22 degrees on top of my head. So it's gonna be hitting Neptune. So that's gonna be very important to look at what was happening when Jupiter exactly hit Neptune. So what's gonna happen when Jupiter comes back to Neptune, right? So maybe if you have got a second, look at it. What was going on when Jupiter was hitting Neptune with the Bitcoin? In the meantime, I'm looking at the exact dates for you. And someone actually can bring up maybe a, oh, Jesus Christ, what have I done here? Heliocentric normal. Okay, so yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, here you go. And then let me bring up a transit wheel here. And I'm gonna start coming backwards. Okay, so Jupiter hit Neptune exactly in March 28th, 29th. So between March 26th to 30, or maybe within that couple of weeks, I would be looking at what was going on with Bitcoin, right? Because that Jupiter is gonna come back, and that's gonna be important for that. I don't remember how the book is called, unfortunately. I don't remember. I don't think even you can buy it anymore, to be honest. But I'll dig it up, and then if I forget to send it, then please drop me an email, and I won't forget it. Okay, so if someone did someone dig up what was going on with Bitcoin in March around 28th, 29th? Has anyone, does anyone know? No worries, Christina. Okay, so anyway, for your own benefit, look at that, okay? Because that might be very important. Then Jupiter obviously conjuncted Venus. Very important to look at what happened, because Jupiter is going to conjunct Venus again. It was recently, right? So that was towards the end of May. Was it May? It was May, right? It was middle of May, sorry. It's around the 12th of May. So Jupiter is in dignity, Venus is in dignity, might be some goodies there. Pluto conjuncts progress directed Sun, and Chiron is gonna go retrograde on the 15th of July. And Chiron does corrections. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Chiron also bring for us. Okay, great. So here a little bit of a timeline to think about. So starting with July and August, I put down the most important things for you to kind of think about. Solar arc Pluto will trine transit Uranus. So Monica is raising their hand. No, she's not raising her hand. Okay, so on July, solar arc Pluto will trine transit Uranus. So solar arc Pluto is on 13 degrees. Transiting Uranus is going to be on 13 degrees as well. So there is going to be a beautiful trine there. And of course, the solar arc Pluto is still conjuncting the Sun. So that's something to be watching out for. That's going to be happening on the 7th of July, to be precise. Chiron will station on the 15th. That's a negative influence. Sun will be reaching 19 degrees of Cancer. That's going to be happening on the 11th of July. And then we're going to have a massive Mars opposition Uranus between somewhere on 28th to 30th of August. But remember that that's kind of triggering all the Saturn and the t-square as well, what happens? So the t-square point is going to be getting activated. So how do we feel about that? Monica, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I had a
Lola?
question. Hello.
Sorry.
I had a question here, and this you mentioned the Saturn moving over that natal Rahu, and I'm just thinking, okay, so we would go, okay, that's kind of, I know it's already passed and it's coming back, just kind of close enough to it, but I'm like, okay, so we would read that as Saturn going over north node of the moon. That's like, kind of restriction. However, Ptolemy's table, Rahu loves that Saturn. So how would you read that?
It's not okay. So one thing which we might want to remember, and thank you for bringing that up, Saturn doesn't necessarily mean restriction. Lola, sorry, just my doggy wants to chew my new shoes. Obviously, they don't like the old ones to chew anymore. They want the new one. So remember that Saturn is not necessarily just restriction in the financial world. It might talk about shortages, right? So imagine in a business world that we're not gonna be able to give enough supply because we don't have enough. So it could talk about shortage in the Bitcoin system. I don't know if it means something, right? Of course, it could talk about blockages. It could talk about something where an outside event is happening. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I mean, it brings something negative eventually, but it can indicate some type of positives as well, though. It happened in the 7th house, so it could again talk about some big companies buying things up, and that causes some type of shortages.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, great. So, does that make sense, or do we need more clarification on that?
No, yes, thank you. No, that's great. I'm just saying that, when you look at that, who loves who, and then Rahu loves that Saturn. So I'm thinking the outcome of that interpretation would be essentially for the customers or the end users, it would be like a positive interpretation.
Saturn is a malefic planet overall, so it might bring some positives, but eventually it's gonna have a little bit of a sour taste.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So anyway, how do we feel about July in the Bitcoin world? So let's see. Let me call up some names because we are very shy here. Diane. So with solar arc Pluto trine transit Uranus on the 7th of July, Chiron stations retrograde, Sun hitting 19 degree, 11th of July. On the 11th of July, by the way, Mercury is also changing sign. I forgot to write it down. And yeah, so what shall we expect from July? Diane? No, Diane? Donetta?
Well, I would think it would have a positive effect, solar arc Pluto.
Well, that's maybe on the 7th, it's something positive, but the rest of the July, Chiron retrograde, Sun on 19 degree of Cancer, which is a critical degree, plus the Saturn Uranus square still hanging around with a T square.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there could be corrections with Chiron.
So for me, it's not that good overall. It's not that good.
Well, the Sun 19 degree Cancer, you don't think that's, you think that's a negative?
Well, what is the 19 degree Cancer? That was a cardinal point in the heliocentric chart, right?
Right.
And
so
that's when the ground cross is getting activated. So the Sun will activate the ground cross in that chart between Jupiter, Vesta, Ceres, and Mars, right?
if the Grand Cross is activated, would the result always be negative if the Grand Cross?
Most of the times, yes. It depends on whether the planet is benefic or malefic. Sun is a malefic planet. It burns.
Oh, okay.
So it's we're gonna have to look at what happens to the Bitcoin on the 7th, what happens on the 11th, what happens on the 15th. So I would like you to keep an eye on those 3 days. Okay, because those are, for some reason, it's going to be important for us. Lefke.
The new moon this on 10 July is happening at 18 Cancer.
Oh,
So-
yes. Oh, yeah. I wanted to mention that too. We've got the new moon happening on 9th or 10th of July, depending where you are, on 18 degree of Cancer. So even the new moon is triggering something for us. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't put that down, but it was on top of my head actually to mention. 9th of July, I've already made that video. I think it's posted tomorrow, I think. Yeah, okay. So September, we've got Mercury coming on to 19 degree of Libra. We're gonna have Jupiter conjunct in the node on the 18th. And then in September, Mercury goes retrograde. So how do I feel about that, Christina? Christina? No, Christina? We don't have Christina. Julie?
Hi.
Hi.
Will you repeat the question?
So Mercury enters 19 degree Libra. Jupiter conjuncts the nodes on the 18th, and Mercury turns retrograde on the 25th of September.
Okay. Well, Mercury at 19 degrees Libra, at that critical degree, I say the Jupiter conjunct the node, that looks more positive. The Mercury retrograde, I would think, would not be so positive. And then I know you said the sun in Libra.
Mercury in 19
Yeah,
degree
okay.
Libra.
Oh yeah, so it wouldn't matter because just the sun.
It does matter because the 19 degree, the cardinal.
At the critical, yeah. I mean, where I was going.
Degree.
Yeah. I think that's going to be perhaps more drops. The Jupiter conjunct the node, would that, I mean, the fact that Jupiter is just going to magnify or expand what's already there, I guess that doesn't necessarily mean a positive, right?
It's not necessarily mean that, especially because Jupiter is in Aquarius. So we would need to look at if Jupiter has got some strength on that node, which might, no, Jupiter doesn't have, because Jupiter has got strength, I think, between 6 to 13 degree. So Jupiter is going to be kind of peregrine there. So that's not necessarily the greatest indication. So September looks a little bit risky.
Okay.
You also want to be watching out for anything in regards to eclipses. So we want to be coming up to the chart and we want to be seeing. So we had the solar eclipse happening on the 10th of June. So who remembers what degree it was? And let's have a look at if it triggered anything in the Bitcoin chart. Yeah, so Andra, for instance. So where did the solar eclipse happen and did it trigger anything in their chart?
Hi. What degree was this eclipse? I don't remember.
19 of Gemini.
19 of Gemini. So
does it trigger anything in this chart?
No.
No, by conjunction, any other aspects?
What is this Chiron?
So we've got a Chiron activation and the Neptune. So what aspect is that?
Is it square?
It's Aquarius and Gemini. Is that a square?
Yeah.
That's not a square.
Oh,
What is the aspect between Gemini and Aquarius? It's a trine. Air signs, right?
yeah.
The similar signs are trining each other. So that's a trine, that's good. Anything else around 19 degree, which this eclipse can trigger?
Uranus.
Uranus. So we've got a square there to Uranus. That's
Mhm.
definitely going to be important, right? And what does it do with Saturn?
And Uranus. And trining Saturn, the eclipse.
Again, it's a square.
Oh, yeah, square.
So basically, Uranus, Saturn opposition. We've got the eclipse happening there. How do we call it?
T square.
T square.
Mm.
Right? Is that good for us, a T square?
No.
Not really. Okay. So, and of course, a solar eclipse can talk about 6 weeks, 6-month periods. So no wonder why we are kind of seeing some negatives coming up here, because, yeah, we've got some trouble there. Thank you. Lefki, go ahead.
Also, the eclipse on 10th January 2020 was at 20 Cancer, I think, which was affecting.
Yeah, 20 Cancer. Yeah, we had one. And of course, it was kind of opposing the sun, sextiling Saturn, trining Uranus. Worth having a look at what happened around that time. Okay, worth having a look. Great. Now, the next eclipse we're going to be having is on the 19th of November, Caramel. So worth having a look at that too. So let's just bring that up. Is that any better for us? 2021, November 19th. It's going to be a partial one. Hold on, transit. Where are we? And I'm gonna bring up, where are you? Jesus Christ. Here. Great, so here you go. So we're gonna, oh yeah, because I put down progression. I'm just wondering why it's not coming up, but of course I have to put down transits. Okay, so here you go. We've got a partial lunar eclipse, so you can see that the sun and the moon are opposing. So that partial eclipse, Jesus, it's going to be happening around 26 degrees. So let's have a look at how does that impact us. Otmar. Are you there? Otmar? No, Otmar. Okay. Johnny.
Okay.
Yeah. So how is this lunar eclipse going to be affecting?
So sun is in the 26th degree.
But it's called lunar eclipse, so the moon is a little bit more important here.
Okay. Yep.
Right. So, but of course you can look at the sun as well, but the moon is a little bit more important here.
So what was it 22 degree?
26.
26. Okay. All right. So that's the third decan. So
what you want to be looking at, does that trigger anything in the natal chart? That's what you want to be looking at.
oh, okay. Yep. Let's see. 26 degrees. Is it squaring Neptune?
Square Neptune, yeah. So we need to be cautious about that. Of course, Jupiter is going to be right on Neptune as well at that time. So important. Wow.
And it's trining Saturn.
Trining Saturn, good news. And one more.
That series?
There's Juno and?
Oh, Juno. Juno and Jupiter.
Juno and Jupiter. So we've got 2 trines and 1 square. Shall we expect something positive?
We should.
Or negative? We should expect
Positive.
something positive, right? Saturn is going to be on the North Node, Jupiter going to be on the Neptune. Worth having a look at if we've got any out of bound planets there, of course. So I'm going to bring up the table for that. And looking at it, oh no, that's the natal Mars, sorry. Hold on. So I would need to bring up a transit chart for that, which I can actually do quickly. I bring that up, 18th of November, 2021.
The 19th, right?
18th, 19th, it depends where we are.
Okay, yep.
So, and then let's see if we've got any out of bound planets. Venus is gonna be out of bound.
Venus, yep.
Yes, and then Venus is gonna go retrograde not long after. So, interesting. Venus, where is Venus? Venus, where are you?
In Capricorn.
Venus is gonna be in Capricorn, yes. So I think this is quite a positive lunar eclipse, to be honest. So something positive should be happening in December, but till then, overall, I think Bitcoin is rocky. Great. Any questions? Hands up. Exactly. We've got an Earth grand trine coming up. So that 6-week period, I would say it's going to be very important to look at towards the end of the year, November, December. I think it can hit some record highs. Now, what's the sun sign in November 19th? Where is the sun? Scorpio. Right? Remember what I said was that sun in Taurus, Gemini, Scorpio, Sagittarius, it does quite well. So let's just have a look at the other conclusions there. Moon in water signs, it's quite low. So let's have a look at where the moon is in that moment. Moon is going to be in an earth sign. So moon in fire signs is pretty high. Earth is kind of neutral, but moon is exalted. Mercury in masculine signs for most reversals. Mercury in feminine signs, usually a breakout. So where is Mercury? Is in a feminine sign. Good news. Mars in masculine signs, usually it's a breakout. So let's have a look at where Mars is. Where is Mars? It's in a feminine sign. So not necessarily a great news because that usually brings reversal. So, but we've got a little bit more on the positives than on the negatives. So I think the Bitcoin with that lunar eclipse could be quite nice. Great. So, pretty much, this is what I wanted to cover about the Bitcoin. So, what I also put down here just as a kind of reminder, because we're going to start speaking about currencies and devisa and all those type of things. So we need a little bit of a Neptune. But the reason why I wanted to kind of also mention Neptune, because Neptune is in business energies, it's advertisement. So Neptune comes up very prominently in charts who are heavily advertising, for instance. And Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So it talks about plenty of money overall. So I put down some negative meanings there of Neptune, which is fraud, disillusion, deception, weak, hoax, scam, fake, fragile, feint, double cross, cheat, ripoff, negligent, swindling. And some of the positives with Neptune is very artistic, ingenious, inspired, internet-related things, fluid, boundless, enchanted, unrestricted, imaginative, and so forth. So remember that every single planet has got their positives and negatives overall. But usually with a square and opposition, Neptune is going to be a little bit more on the negative side. And with trines and sextiles, Neptune is going to be a little bit more on the positive sides. And I also put down some of the industries what Neptune actually kind of rules there, which is oil, pharmaceutical fields, dance, football, cosmetics, alcohol, shipping, health industry, marine biology, photographs, filmmaking, internet, fishing, cleaning, ice skating, glasses, yacht, advertising. Now here the advertising is one of the most important for me. As I mentioned, I worked in McDonald's for almost 20 years, and 15 years I spent as a business manager, HR assistant, and so forth. Now, McDonald's was one of the first companies who actually started advertisements. And those prominent Neptunes in those business charts so if you have got a very prominent Neptune in a business chart, basically you definitely want to be dragging the client's attention to any type of advertisements. That's going to be very, very important. So I think I've got the McDonald's chart saved here, and I wanted to show that. Oh, hold on, cancel. One second. Yeah, here you go. I've got it and open. So here is the McDonald's chart. So what you see here beautifully is that actually Neptune is placed in the second house, right? Which is a source of money. So Neptune in the second can indicate that doing some type of advertisement can be actually important for us. Now, when you look at what Neptune does, actually, it's beautifully trining the sun. So, and that's something to do with the mission, which is kind of important for us. So there is a very strong Neptunian signature in this chart, which is indicating that advertisement could be very important for this company. Yeah, pretty much. That's all I kind of wanted to talk to you about in regards to Neptune. We're going to take that further. Okay, so any questions at all? I think that's kind of enough for us for today. So any questions? Exactly, because advertisement is actually an illusion created to others, right? So that's where the advertisement is coming from to Neptune. Okay, so meaning that when a transit Neptune comes around in a business chart by trine, sextile, or even opposition squares, maybe the advertisement is not the greatest, and there needs to be some type of changes made around that. Okay, so any questions, anyone? Hands up if we have got any questions. Donetta, yeah?
What would you suggest would be a good way to know, like when there's a drop in the market or drop in Bitcoin, when the lowest point would be? Like what would we look for?
Well, we made all that list here. We looked at a very low point. So you might want to be just looking at more cycles. As I mentioned at the beginning, we don't have enough data. But at the lowest point, we had Vesta conjunct Jupiter, Uranus conjunct Mercury, solar arc moon, 19 degree, 19 degree, 19 degree, 19 degree, and then the progress moon was on 21 degree. Right? That's typically the Bitcoin. So what you want to be doing with other charts, you might want to be bringing up, for instance, let's stay on McDonald's charts, right? But you do that with any type of investments. So I'm going to be looking at what is the strong signature in this chart. Hello? Sorry. They're just arguing for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with them. So we want to be looking at what is the strong signature of this chart, right? So do we have any T-square? Do we have any ground cross, for instance? Do we have any strong squares which is actually standing out here? So I kind of see that maybe there is a Pluto and the Jupiter square happening there. So maybe that's actually important. Those are two giant planets, right? Or I can see that even if you look at the Sun and Uranus conjunction, that kind of shows how much the online business actually could be helpful for them as well. But anyway, so, but there is a kind of a stellium going on in Taurus. So definitely that Venus degree might be quite important. So I would be looking at what is happening when any planet kind of hits Venus, for instance, or the 6th degree cardinal signs. So maybe in McDonald's chart, the 6th degree is quite a pivotal one. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you are looking for some type of signatures in the chart. Maybe the most aspected planet. That's worth having a look. So maybe I can see plenty of lines are coming to Neptune. Well, because Mercury, Uranus is actually trining there. Well, I don't see any other aspects. Okay, so definitely, you know, looking at which is the most aspected planets. That could be a signature of the chart. Or as we learned previously, looking at the angles. So if I have got a Sun and Saturn in angle, do they have any type of aspect? Because that could be very important signature here also. There is no aspect, but they are in the same sign though. So something in Taurus related matters could be very important actually for McDonald's, but they don't have it. But if I look at the modern ruler, oh wow, they've got a conjunction. So that's a signature. So I need to be definitely looking at Uranus transits or this 22-24 degree marker of the fixed signs could be very prominent for McDonald's. Or if I look at the other side of the story, which is Venus and Mars. Oh, that's conjuncting also. So, well, it's a wide conjunction, but we do have a conjunction there, right? So again, the Venus is a recipe here for us. So the 6th degree of the cardinal signs, for some reason, is important. Okay.
Would we also look at the other chart that the charts where we were bringing up the moon, you know, the graph?
Of course, yeah. So remember that that's a cardinal axis. So that's very close by to the 0 degree as well. Right. So I can go there and then I can, yeah, here you go. Okay, so why you are not working now? What's wrong with you? Yeah, here you go. Right, so I'm looking at McDonald's is somewhere When it reached its peak in 2017, McDonald's was doing extremely well in 17, 18. 17 was the time, somewhere in, well, it was 16 actually, when McDonald's reintroduced the McDelivery. So that was their peak, but you can see it's actually falling down now, right? So when it reaches this cardinal point here, it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens, which is 2023, somewhere in July, August, okay? And of course, that's gonna be a Venus activation going on there as well, because they've got a 6-degree Cancer, so that's a cardinal point. So something is definitely gonna be happening in 2023 with McDonald's. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was
Great.
thinking.
And then, of course, if you want to be looking at the past, of course, there was a crossover in 17, 16. Well, 16. That's exactly somewhere. When did we introduce the McDelivery? It was maybe May, I think, on top of my head, at the end of May, June. So, of course, because the progress moon was crossing midheaven and it was crossing the sun as well. And that brought McDonald's a 40% sales increase. In some restaurants, actually it brought 70%, but as an average, the company increased 40%.
And
Okay.
if we're, yeah, and if we're looking at stocks and times to buy and times
Exactly the same way. So, when to buy stocks, you want to buy them when they are at the lowest.
Right.
So when they are hitting a rock bottom, right? So maybe if I'm looking at these dates here, this year was very good to buy, let's say Bitcoin, because we're looking at the Bitcoin now. But probably I wouldn't have bought in 2017 or around 14th of April when we saw so many goodies happening, right? So here is your conclusion, and that's what you want to be doing with the other chart as well. Coming up with a conclusion, okay, how is the Ethereum actually reacts to things? Where is the sun? Where is the moon? Where is the Mercury? When is the Mars? When it's peaking and when it's extremely low. I mean, remember, astrology is just a technique, but there are financial techniques as well, which I'm not going to be able to explain to you. I saw some presentations about it, but I'm not good at it. There are some, I'm not good at it. So I'm sure there are some of you here, financial experts. I know a couple of you are. But there are some terminology, like something like there is a graph. This is what I kind of remember. I don't know how it's called, but let's just, yeah, some type of technical analysis, but let's say here is a graph, and then they pull a line on the highest point, and they pull a line on the lowest point. Let me just bring up an image here. No, that's not good for us. Can I not make you bigger? No. Anyway, so imagine that there is a line on that 65,000, and there is at the lowest, let's say that's here, okay? So they pull a line, and then if it goes underneath, then you can actually expect a continuous drop. If it goes above, then you can expect growth. But I don't necessarily know these type of things. So I'm not a financial expert. As I said, I just look at the astrological trends. But of course, you're going to have to dig yourself into these type of things as well.
Yes, resistance points. Yeah.
Exactly.
Support points. Okay, yeah. So I was just wondering if those charts where we were charting the moon action can show highs and lows.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Great. So brilliant. Support and that's the one, support and resistance in technical analysis. Yeah, something I remember I was seeing when I dived into it, but to be honest, it's so dry to me, and I'm like, I don't even know how to follow this. So I was like, let me just go back to astrology. That's more than enough for me. Great. So I prefer the astrological energies as well. Great. So now let's move on to our homeworks, and let's move on to okay, so first of all, I'd like well, it's only 18 of you online, and usually we are a lot more. Okay, so hands up if next week you don't want a class and you want to be of rest. Okay, it's only 3 people. Hands up if 6 a.m. my time is good for you. So you're gonna have to do a little bit of a calculation in your head. So we usually, that's 12 hours before the actual time it is for you. So if you started 2 p.m. today, then it's 2 a.m. If you started at 6 a.m. today, then it's 6 p.m. previous day. Okay, that's 3 people also. Anyone who is good with 2 p.m. Okay, so we've got 4. So that's very equal, actually. Oh, Jesus Christ, what shall we do? So I need to make a decision on that, right? I can't do next week, 6 p.m. Bulgaria time. Next week, unfortunately, I have to be, I mean, unfortunately, I have to be singing at a concert. So, which I thought it was going to be 2 p.m., but actually it's 6:30 p.m. next week. So I definitely can't do 6 p.m. next week. So, okay, so I think because you're gonna have 2 homeworks, I think I'm gonna make a decision on that. Let's have a week break. Because as I said, I would like you to gather together in groups, and I would like you to look at one chart together. So, so Andra, so we've got 18 people on. Okay, so whoever is not here but want to join other people, then just email me, and then I'm going to tell you group 1, group 2, group 3, or group 4. So we're going to have 4 groups. Andra, Sin, Donette, Diane. I would like you to look at Tesla. So Andra, Sin, Donette, Diane, I would like you to look at Tesla. So I send you out this chart with all the date of birth, so you will be able to see the timing here: June 29, 2020, 11:25, New York. Okay. The next group of 4, actually Geraldine, you're gonna be in group 1 as well. So Andra, Sin, Donette, Diane, Geraldine. Next group: Johnny, Julia, Christina, Lefke. I would like you to look at Ethereum. So that's going to be your homework. Next one is Mehera, Monica, Otmar, Sean. I would like you to, actually that's just going to be a group of 3. So Otmar, hold on, Monica, Otmar, and Sean, it's going to be just a group of 3. I would like you to look at Doge. And lastly, Susan, Helen, Maripie, and Ramona, I would like you to look at I would like you to look at Apple. Okay, so these are the groups.
Victor, what about me? Anna, Martha?
Oh yeah, Anna, sorry, then you are in group 3. So you're gonna be with I think Otmar, Sean, and someone else was there. and Mahara, I think it was. So I remember you guys are remembering your groups, okay? So, so Anna, you will belong there too. Brilliant. So I would like you to basically work through their cycles a little bit. And I would like you to make a little bit of a prediction of what to expect in the next 6 months in regards to by the end of the year. Okay, what shall we expect? What are the trends? But you're gonna have to do a little bit of research. So what I recommend doing is, because there are 4 or 5 of you, split up the tasks. So someone can look at, you know, let's say 2010, for instance, right? And what was the trend there? So split up something there for yourself, and it's going to be helping quite a lot. Okay, great. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. But this is something which is, yeah, needs a little bit of a research. Okay, great. I would love to share your email address, but there are people who are studying in their own spaces, and there is no permission to share emails, so I don't want to share emails. So what you want to do is share the email addresses here with each other, and then quickly just copy paste into something. So remember, try to remember your groups, and then share email addresses. And what I recommend is just go and like do a Zoom meeting by the time you will be able to do your present. I mean, you know, when you have your findings, right? And then sit together for an hour and then come up with some ideas. This is what I've seen, that's what I've seen, and so forth. And then just put something together and choose a spokesperson, or you can even do that as a group. Okay, great. So I'm gonna just wait while you guys are copying some email addresses so you can contact each other. I'm just wondering if Apple was a good choice, but Apple is, I wanna look at Apple's chart. So yeah, we're gonna be looking at Apple surely. Yeah, we're gonna, yeah, we're gonna look at Apple. Yeah, we're gonna look at Apple. Just my only problem with Apple is that it was born in 1980, so might be a little bit not fair with that group, because obviously they've got a lot more data to look at, but that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Just look at the bigger cycles. Great. Do we have the email addresses? Someone did collect. Maybe one person collects all the email addresses from each group. And then one can send just one email to the group, and then everyone is going to be having their email addresses. The chart, I'm going to send you out the dates. So I'm going to send you out this file. Well, there is copyright on that, so actually I'm gonna now send it out. I'm just gonna copy it out, those 4 dates. Actually, I think it can be shared. It's available on her website as well anyway. So anyway, so that's all right. I can use it. And yes, and then you will be able to try, you will be able to find your time of birth, what you need there. Great. So are we all having, we have 5 in one group? Yes, we've got 5 in one group, and the rest of them are 4, I think. Great. So do we have all the email addresses? Not yet. So group 1, group 2, I've seen someone collecting them. So we are missing Ramona and Ellen for group 4. Ramona, Ellen, they need their your email address. Okay, so here is Helen's. And we just need Ramona's email address, and then you guys are good to go. Yes, have a great 4th of July, everyone, with lovely T-squares. Ramona is on the Telegram group. Okay, so great. Thank you very much, everyone. See you then in 2 weeks. You don't need to send me homeworks. You're gonna present. We're gonna have about 1.5 hours, and then we're gonna jump onto currencies after. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Take care and see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye. Oh, you don't have Ellen's. So someone, I will enjoy my singing. Yeah, I have to practice a little bit. So I'm not gonna screw things up. Great. So Ellen, do we have, oh yeah, Helen already put down the email address there. Great. So thank you, everyone. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.